Thank you for staying with us. It is now down to counting in days to May the 29th inauguration date. Already, various sectors of the Nigerian economy are witnessing some gradual shakeup in anticipation of the change ahead. One area that could largely determine how the country fares in totality is security. And as we all know, this has been quite challenging even under this present administration. Nigeria's insecurity woes not only gulped a huge chunk of funds, it caused the deaths of hundreds, both military and civilian alike, with the military warning of agitators that are probably waiting for any opportunity to cause chaos before May the 29th. Many Nigerians hold high hopes that insecurity will soon become a thing of the past. Joining us in our Abuja studio is an international security risk management consultant, retired Commodore Abimbola Ayuba. Good morning. Thank you for joining us on TVC Breakfast.
Good morning, Veronica. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning.
Right. Now, there has been concerns raised by security operatives of persons who are looking to foment trouble heading towards the May the 29th inauguration date. And just yesterday or 2 days ago, the DSS raised a concern with regards to some terrorists coming together who are having active cells in the Northwest as well as the North Central. Talk to us from your point of view how concerning this is leading up to the inauguration, as well as how we have been able to manage the security situation in the country.
Thank you very much, Veronica. Moving on to preparations for the May 29 inauguration, and of course, the security concerns that have been aired by various security groups. I believe that the armed forces and the police and the secret services are up and doing, and they are capable of responding credibly to any kind of threat that may confront the nation at this critical time of change in administration. And I know that the zero tolerance posture of the Nigerian military and indeed the police and other security services is enough to provide credible deterrence to any form of threat that may be confronting the country at this time.
All right, Commodore, Nigerians are asking, they noticed that during the election, there seemed to be some level of tranquility or calmness or peace across the country. And then shortly after the election, we started hearing more of issues of kidnapping, issues of, killings and all of that again. From the security sector, and those of you who have been watching and analyzing and understand the workings of it, what explanation is there for a situation like that?
Thank you, Mike. It's a situation of 10 and 10 pence. Of course, coming from the January cash crunch, which virtually almost snuffed life out of the entire spectrum of Nigerian society. The elections came in shortly after. There were limited funds for people to throw around. Indeed, at that time, if someone had 2,000 naira, it will look like $2,000 to people who were lucky to have such money at that time. But again, as the politics came to its peak during the national elections, you also realize that it looks to me like most of these miscreants, terrorists, and disgruntled elements found jobs to do either supporting one political group, party, or interest. And again, the security architecture that was in place during this rundown to the election, during and after the election, was quite tight. And thus, it will appear that all those now have been loosened and redistributed back into the Nigerian larger society. So it will appear as if there's a bit of a relaxed environment. And also, with the flow of currency improving, cash crunch being elevated gradually, you will see that kidnapping and all, for ransom especially, and all other forms of crimes are beginning to come up surge once again. So there's need also for the security authorities to also up their game to ensure that whatever they run down to the inauguration and after, that the country is made secure enough for people to transact and make their living. And this is my view on that. Thank you, Mike.
All right. Now, you mentioned the matter of security architecture. And even the Anambra State Governor, Chukwuma Soludo, spoke to this matter because of the situation in the southeast. And just days ago, there were attacks on some consulate staffers in Anambra State, and that is also generating concern. And he spoke to the matter of how we can begin to look at state security, looking at the nature of the insecurity that we have in the country. I wonder what you make with regards to this matter of state security, which a lot of persons have been mouthing over time in this administration, that is what we need to addressing this insecurity situation in the country.
Thank you, Veronica. The unwarranted killings of U.S. Embassy staff somewhere along in Anambra State is quite unfortunate, and I really want to condole with the families of those who have lost their loved ones, and indeed the Embassy of the United States, and indeed all Nigerians. It brings to fore the need for the security architecture of this country to be rejigged. And it has been mentioned in several fora that we need to now unbundle security and encourage community and state policing, because that's where we need to be. These people are not spirits, and they live somewhere, they eat, they drink, they have families, they have activities that can easily be policed, monitored, and with a lot of technology, intelligence-based information. These people should not be difficult to fish them out. So it will appear as if there's perhaps some kind of conspiracies going on in this particular area. And of course, the governor's concern is legitimate, but then there is need for all of society action to be in place to lower this threshold of violence, because it's becoming more concerning. And therefore, I recommend that the new government, as they come in, should begin to look at immediately getting legislations down to allow for community state policing. And of course, the federal structures will remain as it is elsewhere in other climes. And there's a lot to do in terms of security, so that the military will be withdrawn from most of the spaces and they are allowed to retrain, rest, and recuperate, and also prepare for the primary task of securing the country from external aggression, and also maritimely to make sure that our resources are protected and our economy is safe and sound. Thank you.
Okay, Commodore, this administration has done well in the context of acquiring military hardware. We saw from the Super Tucanos to so many others that have been acquired from various countries of the world. Nigerians had expected that, in fact, by the time the Super Tucanos were going to come to Nigeria, there were going to be the magic wand that would have translated security issues in this country. Although the dynamics of it, maybe a lot of Nigerians didn't understand the conditions, and issues around it. But in all of this acquisition, how has it translated the security situation in Nigeria as a whole from your perspective?
Thank you very much, Mike. Well, when you compare the state of insecurity 4 years ago to where we are now, particularly in the flashpoints of the Northeast, which was indeed the epicenter of terrorism in Nigeria, you will observe that a lot of sanity has been restored. People are being removed from IDP camps, and they are returning to the communities. And the efforts of the government also in countering violent extremism has kicked in, and a lot of repentant, low-risk ex-combatants who have submitted themselves willingly have been reorientated and rehabilitated and returned to their communities. And even in the areas of the North Central that used to be very, very concerning, there seems to be some efforts in lowering the level of and activities of these terrorists. But then the weapons alone, I would say, will not alone solve our insecurity challenges. We need a lot of technology-based intelligence support to really, and of course, like is being advocated in all sectors of our national security, the whole of society action, because like I did say at the beginning, that these people are not spirits. They live somewhere. They also have emotions. They also have love. They also have interests. So it will behove on the intelligence communities to really now up their game and move away from all these inter-service rivalries and begin to have a centralized intelligence system where we are able to coordinate and bring out actionable intelligence which will be utilized almost on the spur of the moment, and not intelligence that will have become irrelevant by the time it is received by those who are to action them. Well, these Tucanos are here. We are aware of the conditions that the U.S. government have given to its usage, and it's only meant to fight terrorists. And of course, when you also look at the situation in the Southeast, you will realize that it looks as if what we are looking at is not high-level criminality, and this should be taken up once again and dealt with squarely. And the people must be protected and empowered to to protect themselves, and they are made more resilient and empowered to respond as quickly as possible to threats of this nature. So on the aggregate, the weapons are streaming in, and the users of these weapons are also getting trained by the day. But don't forget that this war against terrorism is a long haul. It's still a long way from home, Mike.
Commodore, you were speaking to us about intelligence, and I would like to ask, how well have we managed and made use of intelligence at addressing matters of insecurity in the country? Because there are times we hear the DSS raise an alarm, and then Nigerians are saying they shouldn't be raising this alarm. They should just go in and address matters instead of raising the alarm and making Nigerians panic.
Thank you very much, Veronica. The object of intelligence is to point out to those who need the information that will be produced of what, where, and whither. The information, the components of the what, where, and whither, what is happening, where is happening, and in what direction is likely to go. It's like someone who is attempting to drive a car at night without the headlamp. What intelligence does is to act as a headlamp, searchlight, and throw light into the path where darkness appears to be existing, and of course, we are expecting that when information is brought to the fore, it has to be processed immediately and also acted upon immediately. So it interrogates the structure of our intelligence and the layers of intelligence, and then those who need that intelligence. Because you cannot gather intelligence in perpetuity, you must be able to sieve the specific information that is timely and it needs to be acted upon. So what I am advocating is to have a joint intelligence system. Even though there is a joint intelligence board in Nigeria exists right now, there's need to have a central intelligence agency that will have representatives of all segments of our intelligence agencies and security services, so that they are able to clear and release the necessary credible and actionable intelligence that will be needed to act at any given time in resolving most of our critical security challenges. This is what I think should be the way to go, Veronica.
All right. Commodore, in the past we've heard senior government officials, senior security officials, even give time frames by which insecurity will be stamped out in this country. Last 10 years or so, even more than that, we've had different times where security agencies will come to say that by the end of this year or in the next 6 months or, whatever the thing is. But we've still had challenges of insecurity with us up until now, although the dimensions may not be the same, or the enormity of it or gravity of it may not be the same. But talk to us, do you have hope that with the way insecurity goes, especially when we're not fighting a conventional war, do you think that do you still have hope that somehow we're going to return Nigeria to the days where anybody can travel anytime to any part of this country and do anything you want to do, so long as it's economical, is economic or is social, you know, any of those things, and not feel insecure.
Thank you very much, Mike. When I heard you talk about hope, I have two things running in my mind. That one, hope is not a strategy. Hope is in the domain of faith, episcopi. We need to bring actions that will mitigate the causes of terrorism, violent extremism in Nigeria. Why not totally writing off the idea that tomorrow might be better than what it is today? I want to see the incoming administration addressing the critical issues of hunger, food scarcity, insecurity, poor road communication, and of course, youth restiveness and unemployment. There are some of these factors are stringing together to fuel the embers of our insecurity. And of course, when we look at case studies from other environments, in Colombia, in Sri Lanka, in some other climes where they faced this northern island, where we have had issues of terrorist groups, especially the ideology-based ones. You will see that in Nigeria today, the ideological-based motivated terrorism is virtually being eliminated by a multiplicity of actions that the government has in place. You will understand that there are also been other non-kinetic actions that have been taking place. We have issues of interfaith discussions ongoing. We also have the Nigeria Interreligious Council working with the youths to educate them and encourage them and lead them out of ideas of religious intolerance. There are also some governments are doing marvelously well in terms of keeping the environment safe. If you take Lagos, for instance, take Kano State, for instance, you will see that there are successes in these two critical states, which are large economies on their own.
All right.
This is where I want to leave it.
Run out of time. Yes, it's a fine place to leave the conversation. And we must thank you, International Security Risk Management Consultant, retired Commodore Abimbola Ayuba, for your time on the program. Thank you.
Thank you very much.